From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Building your own workforce.
I don't think we need to overcomplicate things, but that's what it does. It's a rover for the ranch.
How one Texas rancher's invention is banking him time at feeding time. Fire in paradise. Massive wildfires burn on the islands of Hawaii as ag exports slump.
When you got a major war going on in the world, so that's the world we live in.
The latest on what's behind them and whether any relief is in sight right now on AgDay. Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Earlier this summer, the U.S. posted its most substantial monthly trade deficit on record, and ag exports were particularly hard hit. In June, ag exports dropped more than 8% to $12.8 billion. That's the lowest monthly shipment value since September of 2021. Imports fell almost 6% to just under $16 billion. The drop resulted in a monthly deficit of $3.16 billion. AgDay's Michelle Rook joins us with more on this. And Michelle, corn and wheat exports are suffering right now.
That's for sure, Clinton. As exports have faced various headwinds this marketing year, including a higher U.S. dollar, fierce export competition from especially Brazil's record corn crop, and Russia offering the cheapest wheat in the world and undercutting the U.S.
USDA's weekly export reports continue to show U.S. corn exports 35% below last year and inspections down 33%. Wheat exports are down 29% with inspections 14% lower. This illustrates that the U.S. is not competitive globally on price, plus end users are only buying hand to mouth.
You know, with all the uncertainties going on, I can't blame anybody who needs to purchase grain or meats. It's just simply so uncertain. We don't know what's going to happen. You got a major war going on in the world. So that's the world we live in.
However, Shelby says there's some hope that demand will pick up down the road, especially for corn and wheat, with growing global production issues and lower Ukraine exports, unless the Black Sea grain deal is reworked.
The key going forward is, will we pick up demand from the situation with the Ukrainian war intensifying down the road? China's got some real flooding problems, so potentially there's some demand, but it will take time to get here, and it's not going to show up probably till after harvest or down the road in the future.
So he thinks USDA will likely need to lower export projections for corn and wheat in the August or later WASDE reports. And even soybean exports are slower on old crop, with sales down 6%. Meanwhile, new crop soybean exports are down 35% from the 5-year average, despite recent China buys. I'm Michelle Rook reporting for AgDay.
All right, thanks, Michelle. The Biden administration also rolling out new investment restrictions in China as it seeks to curb advancements in that country's military technology. The government planning to impose restrictions on private equity and venture capital investments into certain Chinese tech companies. The new executive order was issued on Wednesday. It will limit investments in semiconductors, quantum computing, and artificial intelligence. The new rules are meant to protect national security and also call for more government visibility into U.S. investments into China. They will take effect in several months. Happening right now, crews are working to get the upper hand on fires that are burning. Now, we begin in Texas, where a grass fire has destroyed an apartment building in Cedar Park just outside of Austin. At last report, the fire was 60% contained. Officials say the fire originally started as a structure fire and then moved to the grass. And high winds are fanning the flames of wildfires racing through parts of Hawaii. Hardest hit right now, historic Lahaina town on the island of Maui. Hundreds were evacuated from the area. The fires forcing some people to flee to the relative safety of the ocean, where they were rescued by the Coast Guard. As you can see from this video, the fire is widespread in Lahaina, including on Front Street, a popular tourist destination. The winds coming from Hurricane Dora, Category 4 storm, which passed south of the island. Adding to the wildfire concerns in the south, high heat continues with fire concerns for parts of southern Texas to parts of southern Oklahoma. Meteorologist Matt Engelbrecht joins us. And Matt, other areas to the north of that could see some thunderstorms.
Yeah, to that point, I want to look at something we typically don't look at, which is the fire weather risk map coming up for our Thursday. And you can see a small contour right here into Texas. You got Midland, Odessa back over here towards the west. Now San Antonio and back into San Angelo, where that fire weather risk is going to be elevated. And one thing I do want to point out, when it says elevated, what that is combining is very low humidity and strong winds, and that's what's going to be pushing through a good portion of Texas. By Friday, the fire weather risk, it's a tough one to say, fire weather risk goes away. Now coming up in a little bit, we'll take a full look at what's going on regarding the rain chances, but first I want you to take a look at what Brian sent in. This is coming from North Dakota. Where you have heat harvest rolling on. And again, Brian sending this in from North Dakota, giving us a look at the crop from the harvester, and it looks pretty good. I'll have more on your forecast, including rain chances across the nation, coming up in just a bit.
The amount of organic produce being sold is back on the rise after a pause the last couple of years. The latest numbers show overall organic fresh produce dollar sales rose 1.5% in Q2 compared to the same quarter a year ago. Sales topped $2.4 billion. Now, volume was also slightly higher. That reverses a recent downward trend in organic volume that started back in 2021. Now, conventional produce still dealing with demand issues. The dollar amount of conventional sales were up 2% to slightly less than $19 billion. Volume, however, fell 1.3%. Commodity markets are searching for a solid footing. Is there something out there that could ground them this week? We'll have details on that coming up next. When hired hands are hard to find, one Texas rancher made his own. The story behind this robotic feed wagon in the country. And we're gearing up right now for the 2023 Pro Farmer Crop Tour. It runs from August 21st through the 24th, and you can join us. Be sure to check out agweb.com and look for the Pro Farmer Crop Tour information. You can join us for the in-person events at each stop, and you can see the results of the day-by-day by watching Crop Tour live online each night at 8 p.m. Central on all the Farm Journal social media channels and on agweb.com.
Ag Day, presented by Pioneer. What's next happens when the testing grounds meet the proving grounds. Pioneer. What's next happens here.
The Dow Jones reporting Bayer's new CEO says the company is working on strategic plans and isn't excluding the possibility of restructuring. You'll remember back in July, we told you a German news service said the company was looking at spinning off its crop sciences division. The move reported as an effort to improve its financial standing. Bayer telling Farm Journal at the time the report was based purely on speculation. Now, these latest comments from CEO Bill Anderson come from a financial results conference call. He said management is open to other ideas, adding that if we need to change the structure of the group in order to achieve our goal, that's what we are going to do. Dow Jones says Bayer expects to unveil plans and financial targets for the company in early 2024. Another big soybean buy from China was reported midweek, a sale of 9.2 million bushels, and that, along with a changing weather forecast, helped push beans higher in early trade. Michelle Rook is back with where things closed in markets now.
Wednesday's closes in the grains, lower in corn and wheat, higher in soybeans. Dave Chatterton with Strategic Farm Marketing is joining us. And Dave, a pullback in corn and wheat. You know, how much of that was just squaring up ahead of the report coming up on Friday?
Yeah, Michelle, unfortunately, that's where we're at. And, until the numbers come out, we've seen volume slow down, continue to slow down all week. Wednesday was one of the lowest volume sessions of the year so far in the grain complex. And so traders, it's been a very volatile pricing period here with the introduction of what's happened in the Black Sea and the weather element. All have been in play this summer. It's been a very up and down yo-yo type of a market. And I think traders are willing to take some of that risk off the table.
It's been kind of amazing to watch, though, Dave, the lack of response to some of this war news in the market.
Yeah, Michelle, it's a slower shipping time for the Black Sea. We know that Russia continues to be the world price setter for export of wheat, and they continue to export that wheat. We have seen their prices gravitate higher a little bit here, $10 to $12 a metric ton. I think most of that is coming not from the commodity value, but probably from the freight value and the extra insurance that's needed to now, move vessels in and out of that region. So the market remains one headline away, or takes a lot of headline risk home every evening in terms of what can happen. And I think we had factored in that the Ukrainian supply would basically dwindle to zero or next to nothing, which was expected. What's not expected, or what we have to watch for, is the potential for the Russian exports to be curtailed or cut off some way, whether that's militarily or from an export or from a sanction standpoint. So certainly a lot, to remain there. But as you say, funds remain short the wheat complex at a time when there's a lot of risk on the table. I think that just tells you how dominant, or how uncompetitive we are from an export standpoint here in the U.S.
And Dave, soybeans tried to hold on to gains with help from some China business, but pretty tough to do when you got rain on the radar, right?
Yeah, when you looked at what happened on Wednesday and overnight here, that rain that started yesterday covered almost the entirety of Missouri, a very good portion of Illinois. We have a forecast that remains favorable here. It really shows, no real heat to deal with, and almost an ideal finishing month here for August if it comes to fruition here. And so that was the dominant feature yesterday. The export business is more than welcome, especially when it comes from China.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us, Dave Chatterton with Strategic Farm Marketing. That's Markets Now, and we'll have more AgDay coming up.
Registration is open for the 2023 Pro Farmer Crop Tour, August 21st through the 24th. Attend one of our nightly meetings or join online as we gain insight on the 2023 growing season. Visit profarmercroptour.com/register to select the stop nearest you.
So we looked at the fire weather concerns just a little bit ago. Now this is a precipitation estimate where that fire weather concern is located. It's back into Texas. As we go forward, that ridge is still going to be there. It's still going to be hot, but we're going to start to introduce some scattered showers. Now what comes with that will be some strong winds as well. But the first shot that at some rainfall, it's not much into parts of Texas, including Dallas, about 1, maybe 2 inches of rainfall. Otherwise, more substantial rain is going to be working in and across the Dakotas, the far eastern Dakotas into Minnesota, as well as Nebraska, back down here to the east and to the southeast, again following that pattern of developing to the northwest and diving down to the southeast as the day goes along. There's Friday at 8 a.m. through our Friday afternoon. Whatever starts back up here to the northwest will continue to come through. Now what we're going to be tracking is a decent cold front Friday night and into Saturday, which is going to be reflected in the temperature outlook between August 14th and August 18th, swinging back to cooler than, if not below normal temperatures, back up into Montana and Canada, and then that pattern continuing to sit into Texas and back down here to the southeast with above average temperatures very likely. One thing that has changed just in the last 24 hours, that's why I do this daily, that is the likelihood of above average temperatures returning back into Illinois, Indiana, as well as Michigan. So this kind of orange contour, and based on what's going on with the jet stream, has been pushed a little bit farther to the north to now include parts of Wisconsin and Michigan. To kind of go over some of those changes, so Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we keep the amplified flow with that ridge of high pressure back down here to the south, but also bring in the chance of some showers with that cold front Friday and Saturday. After that, you see giant ridging, big ridge back over here to the west coast. That is going to eventually develop and work across the United States. So when you're looking at the potential for some above average heat, that's the signal that you're looking for. Let's go take a look at Montana. Partly cloudy, high around 80 degrees, low of 46. You also have Taos, mostly sunny at times with intermittent clouds, high around 85 degrees, low of 53. And then Ohio, isolated thunderstorms coming up for a Thursday, high around 82 degrees.
Thanks, Matt. So far this year, the U.S. has had 15 weather disasters that have each resulted in more than $1 billion worth of damage. According to the National Centers for Environmental Information, that's the most billion-dollar disasters in a single year since it began tracking these events back in 1980. NOAA says the damage done by the wrath of Mother Nature cost at least $177 billion in 2022 and more than $1 trillion between 2016 and 2022. The Biden administration naming another new monument out west. We'll have details next. And later, we're off to Texas to see how one producer is turning to new technology to keep his cattle fed, the robot rancher in the country.
Drover's Report on Ag Day is brought to you by Beringer Ingelheim, because you, the people who put cattle first, are second to none. President Biden this week designating the 5th national monument of his presidency.
He designated Ba Nuwabjo Itakukvini ancestral footprints of the Grand Canyon National Monument. His administration says it helps protect nearly 1 million acres of greater Grand Canyon landscape from potential uranium mining. The area includes biodiverse habitats, provides refuge for wildlife, and is sacred to the tribal nations that live there.
Today I'm proud to use my authority under the Antiquities Act to protect almost 1 million acres of public land around Grand Canyon National Park as a new national monument. To help right the wrongs of the past and conserve this land of ancestral footprints for all future generations.
Now the National Cattlemen's Beef Association is slamming the president's designation, saying it amounts to, quote, yet another presidential land grab, adding, quote, this kind of use of the Antiquities Act is one of the most appalling political moves to lock up millions of acres of land across the country. Today's latest designation follows a concerning trend of Washington politicians trampling local communities, land managers, farmers, and ranchers with the stroke of a pen, end quote. NCBA President Todd Wilkinson went on to say the president needs to listen to local communities that will be hurt by the designation. Cattle may seem uniquely American, but a new study is revealing their true origins in the Americas thanks to DNA. Researchers analyzed ancient DNA from Spanish settlements in the Caribbean and Mexico. Their results indicate cattle were imported from Africa early in the process of colonization, more than 100 years before their arrival was officially documented. Now, the researchers with the Florida Museum of Natural History gathered 21 bones from several archaeological sites, including an island in the Caribbean and in central Mexico. After pulling DNA material from the bones, they compared their genetic sequences with those of modern breeds from around the world. As expected, most shared a strong relationship with cattle from Europe. 6 of the bones from Mexico had sequences common in African cattle, but that was also found in breeds present in southern Europe. But a tooth from a cow in Mexico City stood out. It had a short DNA sequence virtually unknown from anywhere other than Africa. They believe the cow it came from likely lived in the late 1600s, pushing back the introduction of African cattle by more than a century. You can read more about this fascinating research over at drovers.com. From the history of cattle to the future, we'll see how robots are helping this Texas producer get his work done today in the country. A good ranch hand is hard to find, so one man in Texas decided to build his own. You heard that right, build it. Now he's leaving the feeding to something he calls the roving rancher, as you'll see in this story from the Texas Farm Bureau.
My name is Rue McTasney. We're in Caddo, Texas right now. It's some family land. I build robots that feed cows. We got about 4,000 acres. We run about 100 to 150 head, mostly continuous track. The ranch has been in the family for 4 generations. Being as this is a family ranch, we're really working on slim margins. Not a lot of people have the money and resources to pay somebody else to do it, so everybody's doing it themselves. I was feeding one day and I was thinking about all this stuff and the time that I could be doing something else, like fixing fence, driving heavy equipment, because it is so repetitive, but it still has to be done, right? For us, the rover's saving us about between 15 and 20 hours a week. People are thinking we're out here trying to replace the human in ranching. Well, you're just not going to do that. This is an augmenting tool. It's not a replace the human tool. We grew up here. We understand that you're not going to do that, but we believe there is still room for us to bring solutions that can help. It's really beneficial to have augmented tools so you can do just life in general, whether that's work or making a kid's baseball game or something along those lines, just to take away the stress of that 1 or 2 or 3 afternoons that you don't have to be there. You don't have to worry about this specific task. So the range has been global. There's been somebody in contact with us probably from every state. And we've had interest from Argentina, Paraguay, anywhere there's a cow. The biggest thing about agriculture is the problem-solving mentality that you have to have whenever you grow up prepares you for so much more. Agriculture forces people to be very mechanically savvy. You work on your own stuff, you build your own stuff. The margins just don't allow for you to outsource a lot of your mechanical problems. I've been working on this project for 3 years. We've come from conceptual idea to a conceptual model that was literally built on an old pickup frame to a fully sourced model built from the chassis up. To come this far in something and to be blessed in such a way to have the support and everything to make something like this reality has been a really good experience.
And our thanks to the Texas Farm Bureau for sharing that story with us. And that's going to wrap us up for today's episode of Ag Day. From all of us here, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day out in farm.